Howdy, y'all. This is Proverbs 25 in the ALV for November 25th, 2023. These are also Proverbs of Solomon, which the men of Hezekiah, king of Judah, copied out. It is the glory of God to conceal a thing, but the glory of kings is to search out a matter. As the heavens for height and the earth for depth, so the heart of kings is unsearchable. Take away the dross from the silver, and there comes forth a vessel for the refiner. Take away the wicked from before the king, and his throne shall be established in righteousness. Glorify not yourself in the presence of the king, and stand not in the place of great men. For better is it that it be said to you, Come up here, than that you should be abased in the presence of the prince, whom your eyes have seen. Do not go forth hastily to strive, for what will you do in the end when your neighbor has put you to shame? Debate your cause with your neighbor, and do not disclose the secret of another, lest he who hears it revile you, and your infamy not turn away. Like apples of gold in a network of silver is a word fitly spoken. An earring of gold and an ornament of fine gold, so is a wise reprover upon an obedient ear. As the cold of snow in the time of harvest, so is a faithful messenger to those that send him, for he refreshes the soul of his masters. Clouds and wind without rain, so is he who boasts himself in a gift of falsehood. By long forbearing is a ruler persuaded, and a soft tongue breaks the bone. Have you found honey? Eat so much as is sufficient for you, lest you will be filled with it and vomit it. Let your foot seldom be in your neighbor's house, lest he be full of you and hate you. A man who bears false witness against his neighbor is a maul and a sword and a sharp arrow. Confidence in an unfaithful man in time of trouble is a broken tooth and a foot out of joint. One who takes off a garment in cold weather, vinegar upon natron, so is he who sings songs to a heavy heart. If he who hates you is hungry, give him bread to eat, and if he is thirsty, give him water to drink. For you will heap coals of fire upon his head, and Yahweh will reward you. The north wind brings forth rain, so does a backbiting tongue an angry countenance. It is better to dwell in the corner of a housetop than with a contentious woman in a wide house. Cold waters to a thirsty soul, so is good news from a far country. A trampled fountain and a corrupted spring, so is a righteous man who gives way before the wicked. It is not good to eat much honey, nor to search out one's own glory upon glory. He whose spirit is without restraint is a city that is broken down and without walls. Man, that's one of the most important Proverbs of Solomon in this section. But, overall, as a guy, he whose spirit is without restraint is a city that is broken down and without walls. Look, if you can't control yourself, it's like the parable of the talents and our models of stewardship. If you can't control yourself, your body, your spirit, you can't be trusted to be in charge of more. Let's just put it that way. And I, as a man of science and someone who always loved the sciences, it is the glory of God to conceal a thing, but the glory of kings is to search out a matter. Look, everybody wants to say trust the science. Well, guess what? Science isn't like a thing. It's a process. It's a process of messing around and finding out, as the saying goes. Quite literally, you document how you're going to mess around. You document what you think's going to happen and why based on previous stuff. Then you mess around. Then you document what you did to mess around and how you found out, and what you found out upon examination and reflection, and sharing it with other people. Our models of time, space, cosmology, biology, these have all changed over time. So while they may not be matters of salvation, your approach and reflection upon them reflects your internal state, right? So we can argue about evolution, not evolution, gap theory, simulation theory, whatever. But it's your it's not exactly what you believe, it's how you believe it that kind of reveals our hearts, right? Me, I'm flexible. I'm flexible. I I can believe it this way. I can argue it that way. I can believe something that seems absurd to the human mind, like how old was Adam? Well, do we mean Adam the guy or Adam the human race, right? Because we see God giving Adam dominion and authority, and he's immediately naming stuff and doing stuff. It doesn't, there's not verses where it's like, and then God raised a child and took care of him, right? It was man, like full instantiated person. And that's kind of what we see too, even when we try to grapple and comprehend with this stuff, like cloning, right? Science fiction. We got bodies in vats. We have literally growing a body in a vat from like embryo to big guy. You've got rapid growth, all of a sudden, where it's like the whole thing can grow up very quickly. And then you've got constructed bodies. Sorry, I'll be honest, my lady is texting me questions, and I made the mistake of reading that, and it kind of derailed me there. But the point being, it's similar, right? And then further, simulation theory, computer code. So when you build a video game, you build an environment, you build a world, you build all the sprites and characters. And I'm not saying like, oh, there aren't games where those things develop, but like the world, the character, they're there. Mario doesn't start off as a baby and grow over time based on what you do. It's a fully instantiated person in a fully instantiated world. And like that doesn't make sense to us, right? But then you suspend belief for things like science fiction, the Matrix, whatever. I was going to start listing like fantasy movies as well, but it's like to be in a hallucination, or our spirit to be pulled into a different place, or something instructed in our mind. We can believe that stuff. The point being, as Christians, we should be people of science, because the more we can learn about creation, the more we glorify God. Pretty simple. Pretty simple. I think it was Feynman said that when you take your first drink of physics, essentially you lose God. But when you get to the bottom of the cup, you see God again. Because it's like you can't observe all these phenomenon. It would be hard. It would be arrogant to think like this all came from nothing. And there's a comedian going around right now who says like people want to make fun of people who say God created the universe, but they take the funnier position of nothing created the universe. So like whatever. Maybe I'll link that down below. Maybe not, because I think it's fairly vulgar. And as usual, just work. Just do the work and get in where you fit in. Because if you try to elevate yourself, then you'll be shamed by somebody who really is popular, influential, whatever. I want to be an influencer. Well, don't get too haughty, because people will put you in your place. That you should be abased in the presence of the prince whom your eyes have seen. Do work, get called up for your good work. Don't try to sit and then talk about your work. And finally, when you're in a public position like that, to give in and be corrupted, what did it say, is an abomination, I believe. Trampled fountain or corrupted spring. So is a man who gives way before the wicked. I guess I put that in there, I'm sorry. But the point is, like, a very beautiful public thing to get corrupted and to turn away from God publicly is like a trophy, for lack of a better word. Look, we got him corrupted. We were able to do it to him. So the more honor you get, the more publicity you get. Just remember, the more eyes are on you. And people like watching a car accident, for lack of a better term. And I think if you are engaged in the news or a lot of the internet news at all, like, that's what gets reported, is failures, problems. So the race is hard for everybody. Struggle to stay strong. Go with God and be blessed.